Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Doing Met AI. Today, Chris Van Vleuten is our very special guest, and the best part is that Chris is sitting right here next to me. My studio wasn't quite ready to do it live side by side with multiple cameras, but that doesn't matter. Although today it is indeed about the same topic. It's about video, AI, and video. And Chris, you will introduce yourself shortly. You are really someone with a lot of experience in video and a lot of experience in AI and video. And I discovered in our previous conversations you've been involved for quite a long time. So I'm happy you're our guest and you're with us today on LinkedIn Live. We're also going to show a few things because after all, it's about visuals. So this fifth episode is entirely about AI and video. Chris?
Olaf, that's really great. Thank you for the invitation anyway. I really, truly, and absolutely find it a privilege and honor to be on your show at this cool location in Amsterdam. So yeah, go ahead, ask away, fire away. What exactly do you want to know? Feel free to ask.
We will soon enough find out exactly where you come from and how you got involved in all of this. But what I actually do with all my guests is first to talk about what has caught your attention, and there has been a lot of news lately. What has stood out to you recently in the field of artificial intelligence news and developments over the past few weeks?
Yes, it was an extraordinarily bizarre month, I must say. Indeed, one piece of extremely intense news was barely fresh off the press before the next one actually came out. It all actually started with OpenAI, which very strategically released their GPT 4.0 model just before Google's developers conference. Yes, and it was also definitely bizarre what is possible with that. And then, of course, Google with that huge array of incredible new tools, a variety of them, mostly based on Gemini. And yes, beyond that, some other interesting new things have come in, but they get a bit overshadowed by the big wave of news from OpenAI and Google. So how do you keep up with it all, Chris? That's a question I get from many people. How do you keep up with all that news? Well, actually, there was a site I used, tools.io, and the news version of it by Matt Wolf, a big YouTuber in the AI field, an American. Furthermore, of course, a lot on Twitter, or X as you should say nowadays. There are also a number of trendsetters who follow everything, and of course the sites of OpenAI and Google. I also receive alerts and updates through Google Alerts, everything related to AI on the latest. And of course, I am also quite definitely involved with video, particularly with video for the leisure sector in the Netherlands. So I also get alerts about that very often, but it's a lot. On average, I think I spend a few hours per day. Usually I wake up early. I first spend an hour and a half checking what has come in, mostly from America, and I follow that. If there are interesting things that I find, I test them out thoroughly first. Then I write a little detailed and comprehensive news piece about it on my website, aiadvise.com, or I tweet it, or just share it on various social media platforms.
Yes, there's so much, I know. We're about to start because you also brought some great examples of AI and video, and I was already impressed. Before we begin, I always have to say, if there are any questions, please ask them in the chat. So feel free to leave your question. Chris and I will see them and will answer them, maybe during our conversation, but especially at the end of this LinkedIn Live session. So there is still room to ask all your questions. Chris Wahlbergs, feel free to throw them in the chat if you think I want to know more about this or explain that to me again. So I would really like to invite you all to that. But before we really dive in, Chris, I would like to know exactly where you come from. Where did it all start? Video is your thing. Can you take us through how this started for you and the connection with AI, by the way? Yes.
Yes, exactly. If I go way back, both my grandfather, whom I never knew, and my own father, they were already involved with film back in the day. They really had those 8mm film cameras without sound, without film yet, and they always made all the fun videos, little films of family vacations, of characters, nature, and the beauty of the natural environment, you name it. So I think that's where the seed was planted a little bit more significantly, that we as children also started watching Dad's videos. By the way, I indeed sent you a lovely photograph of him where you can really see him truly ready with the camera. It's a very beautiful photograph. But it really started for me when I bought my first video camera, a Sony, one of those handycam types, a big thing, but with small tapes inside. And that was when I became a tour guide in Greece, among other things, for hotel planning at Club Escalette. And what I did was make videos for my guests, capturing their special moments and experiences. And at the end of the week, I would meticulously edit them really old school with the camera in a VHS recorder onto VHS tapes, ensuring every detail was perfect and memorable. And then he bought those tires for a few tins, and they had a nice memory of their vacation.
Yes, great. And we have footage of that. I often want to show it again. I thought it was pretty cool myself, so I'll show it to you.
Ga nu op excursie. Het zelf dankelijk verhalen.
I got a bit of Narcos vibes from that music, but, well, maybe that's just me. Nice to see, and of course these are indeed very much so old video recordings. AI is truly an incredible, remarkable revolution. What have been the real significant moments for you in the development and progression of video over the years or decades?
Yes, of course, actually, indeed, the arrival of those 8-minute or Video 8 cameras. The really handy cams available in modern day are extremely portable and easy to use. They allow you to capture high-quality pictures and crystal clear sound with these incredibly small cameras. At that time, you also had those all-inclusive editing programs from Sony, such as Vegas, so you could do quite a decent job editing with them. But yes, the big breakthrough naturally came when the mobile phone, the iPhone, and other mobile phones arrived, where there was increasingly more focus on the cameras they had. Yes, and since then, as you know, the whole business has, of course, exploded in a very significant way. And you know what I find quite nice, and it sounds a bit like an Alaman, which I am. I'm for N64. That's just for us.
I am trying to make it today, that is.
In 1995, I notably and very successfully started my very first own company. At that specific point in time, there was not actually an actual website available for use yet, unfortunately. It was the internet, but there were no websites. So we only got our company's first website in 1996. So that was, of course, indeed a very significant development. Then the arrival of the iPhone in 2007, 2008 was another such major development. And I think it's incredibly cool that now on my list as well, Listen to Me Talk, Dad Tells, I also get to experience this new AI wave. And also purely because I am interested in it, I am closely following it, also because I see the implications for our AI business at this moment.
Yes, I often say that the AI revolution is definitely just as big as the arrival of the internet, the arrival of the iPhone. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yes, maybe. Yes, it's of course a logical consequence, but if you see what's happening now in the field of AI, language models, all the tools that are coming, the automation wave, it's truly incredible. This is really another huge and significant and remarkable and extraordinary movement.
And video is still a bit, really behind, isn't it?
Yes, fortunately, I would say, indeed, definitely, absolutely, without a doubt.
Why happy?
Well, then we, as unschooled video people in the field of video production, are still needed and continue to be needed to make beautiful productions. But it is also moving very quickly there. Look, it naturally started with, look what I already gave, presentations about new technologies and the impact they had on businesses and people 10 years ago, so to speak, in various ways, and continue to do so. Then it was indeed about mobile phones, but as we know, in the context of modern technology, which is ever evolving, since Chechnya, it has, of course, become very concrete for people in recent years and in many ways. As it is a language model, language is the foundation of our communication. Communication underlies our behavior, why it has such a huge impact and becomes very tangible for people. They see what can be done with it. And yes, if you look at what's happening now, especially with the multimodal functionalities of AI, generating images, particularly fall and rush, the differences from a year and a half ago, the images you could create with Meet Journey or Daily, and now it's such a world of difference. In a similar development, we are now moving forward in the rapidly evolving and innovative field of video.
Are you still sure you only have a few years left in terms of work? I don't mean in terms of life. We had a microphone there. Do you think you will lose your job soon, in the near future? Filmmakers losing their jobs in terms of your career right now?
No, I honestly speaking don't think so. It will definitely change, though. In the future, our lives might become better and more enjoyable because of it. You remain natural in your responses. However, what you can't do with AI technology is handle real-time events or very current ones. For instance, if something significant happens in the world, like a major news event, it gets filmed and reported immediately. AI lacks. Suppose, in my sector, if a hotel or a bungalow park or a museum, such as, for example, has a new collection or a new exhibit, then you can't immediately. Yes, it might be definitely possible, but it never looks as absolutely lifelike as when you just film it now. Indeed, it does not. Where I do see the big changes is particularly in the way you film, and especially in the way you can edit, using modern technology and advanced software tools, allowing for more precise and creative editing. That's where the real differences lie.
Filmmakers have their significant advantage in the industry then, I assume. Perhaps.
Yes, if you go along with the progress of society in the ever-evolving and rapidly changing development and technological advancements, then I'm not just talking about the famous Wojtek van Oytema, who of course won an Oscar, a prestigious and well-deserved award, but still with celluloid film, mind you.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds very complex, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's really old school film reels, and celluloid, those real reels with film rolls in them. He does it in a very, very effortless way, of course. The quality is also fantastic. However, it's incredibly labor intensive. The camera itself is insanely large. You have to lug around and assemble reels. You really need special machines for that. Insane. That can only really happen if there's a lot of money and time behind it. But like us, the home, garden, and kitchen filmmakers and editors, we greatly benefit from everything that AI is now making available in a multitude of ways and more, such as.
Yes, well, home, garden, and kitchen filmmakers. I have a clip. I'll show a small piece of what you make, but it looks amazing. Then we'll move on to an AI creation example, which I find more fascinating. First, let's see footage you shot, especially in leisure, as I understand. I would definitely love to show it all, but a few aspects really stand out to me when I look at this, because I think we are talking about AI today, and it looks absolutely amazing, by the way. I want a video, but drone footage AI.
There is absolutely no AI in this production at all, in any way.
No, but will that be replaced soon in the near future? Would you still choose to definitely throw your drone into the air, or would you absolutely opt for an AI-generated piece of video for drone footage, for B-rolls, for in-between shots?
Yeah, well, let me put it this way. The thing I enjoy the most is filming on location, including with drones. You're outside, you really feel it, you're on the location itself, And with the current drones, you can, of course, create an amazing shot. But there are also many places where you are not allowed to fly, or if a client wants something quickly and you just don't have that shot, it will soon be really possible to use B-roll footage for that. If you see already, at least the promise that exists with Zora from OpenAI, but also I tested the beta version of Stable Video this week, and also if you see what can be done with Runway, and that you can, for example, bring images, even photos, stills, to life with AI. Yes, it's amazing, of course, to do something with that.
Yeah, is that technology advanced enough in terms of video at the moment that you could use it in a production, or will it take a while longer at this point in time currently?
I used it recently for a project I was working on. That was because I needed a specific shot where I was heading to a particular location, and it was crucial for the scene. You can stabilize the footage primarily with your editing programs, which is a very useful feature. That's all AI as well, and it makes the process much smoother and more efficient. The technology has advanced so much that it can handle most of the stabilization automatically, saving a lot of time and effort. But whatever it was, there were all these traffic signs in front of that shot, and it was super ugly. So I fly towards that castle, and you see all these ugly traffic signs in the shot. Nowadays, you can just easily edit them out with the help of AI. So in that sense, I essentially combine a real shot with AI tools to essentially make the image just a bit nicer, essentially.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
So if people come now and they walk over there, what are all these traffic signs doing here? I didn't see that in the video. And that's where the danger lies, of course, in how far you potentially go, significantly in the end. We all know the examples of models who have been slightly photoshopped and slightly enhanced to look just a bit more beautiful. All the filters on Instagram. Yes, how so? What actually is a kind of point of doubt for me is the arrival of that new and highly anticipated Google Pixel 8 phone, where you can also make all sorts of creative and innovative adjustments to your photos using advanced AI technology. So you see, for example, a man lifting his child into the air, which is nice, of course, but then you can sort of grab him and lift him just a bit higher. So then 0.5 meter higher, you throw it over, which is slightly dangerous. Or, for example, the feature that definitely allows you to take group photos where everyone looks good, because then you're essentially creating a kind of video. And it actually captures all the faces of the people who are just smiling or looking at the camera. And it brings them together so you have a group photo where everyone looks good.
Yes,
That might still be actually useful, but when you start really manipulating things, I currently have some doubts about that at the moment.
Yes, although with After Effects you could already do a lot, right? If you're definitely absolutely a bit skilled and experienced.
Absolutely. Look, and it's already being done. Just look at the average Hollywood movie or Netflix series. There are all sorts of things in there that normally wouldn't be possible at all. Just think about it.
When we talk about AI and video, really making complete videos, we've already discussed it. It can be done partially, but of course not entirely yet. But there are examples. Maybe you know the tools. It tells the audience Synthesia, Heygen, where you can clone yourself, where you can create a person, where you can speak all languages, for instance. You had a client who used this technology very early on. Can you introduce it a little bit more about it, and then we'll show it?
Yes, that was almost exactly 3 years ago when I was asked by a person who was a broccoli cracker from the region of West Friesland. They have station employees from various countries, such as Ukraine, Poland, Rumelia, and neighboring regions. And those people generally don't speak English, at least the people who work in their rooms. So what they asked was, can you make some instructional videos on what those people need to do? When they come to work here, the procedures, they also have a kind of hotel, a sort of boarding house actually at their location, and there are all sorts of rules for that too. And yes, you can definitely do that with folders or papers, but she really wanted to do it with video. So they just didn't have the budget to hire a native-speaking voiceover artist for every single language or official translation agencies, which are often quite expensive. So I looked around extensively to find a suitable alternative.
Before you start telling us what you did, I want to show it first, and then you can explain to us what happened here. First, let's give the viewers some context.
Best employee of Verdonk Broccoli. In this video, I explain your contract and salary.
Найкращий працівник брокколі Вердонг. У цьому відео я пояснюю ваш контракт і зарплату.
Najlepszy pracownik brokułów Verdonk. W tym filmie wyjaśniam Twoją umowę i wynagrodzenie.
Chris, this was exactly 3 years ago, or just about. Almost 3 years ago. What did you do? How did you make this?
Well, I started looking around. I don't remember exactly, but I just conducted a search on Google for some information that I needed at that time. Translation tools for video, something like that. And then I came across Synthesia.io, which was one of the first to create those presenters that don't actually exist. Yes, they are based on real people, and you can input a script in Dutch, English, or other languages, and it gets instantly translated into multiple videos, which is fantastic, Initially, it was quite basic without backgrounds and such, but nowadays you can fully animate backgrounds, adding a whole new level of creativity and customization to your videos. Last month, they launched a new version where you can actually influence the emotions of the avatars, making them more expressive and lifelike. This new feature allows for a more engaging and immersive experience, which is a significant improvement from the earlier versions. You can make them laugh, you can make them watch without sound, all those kinds of things. And within the voices, that can also be very well manipulated. So yes, in these kinds of cases or for these types of companies, this is without a doubt a solution.
Yes, absolutely. But will we still need news anchors then? Definitely.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Because if you already see Jello One AI in America, Omroep Brabant has now started a test, which is quite interesting. This week, I got access to the new Rio app, and it looks promising. I strongly believe that the content you are referring to is from Curio.io, a platform known for its curated audio content. That is an American journalists' platform where they also experiment with innovative AI technologies. Now, with the introduction of their real application, you can essentially have personalized and custom-generated podcasts or news reports specifically for you to listen to. This platform allows journalists to explore new. This is still only with audio recordings, but for example, on the Omroep Brabant channel in America, you can have complete news broadcasts made with AI-generated presenters. These AI presenters use advanced AI technology to deliver news in a realistic and human-like manner. This, although the inserts, meaning the news itself, like current footage from Ukraine or Israel or other places, yes, those are real images. Those are indeed real provided images. But you can also think of it like this. Suppose you need a shot of New York, a beautiful and iconic cityscape, or a high-quality and professional drone shot of New York, and you don't have it at that moment. For instance, you can easily generate that with Ike at your disposal in a matter of moments with just a few clicks, or maybe with Google Maps Studio. So you ultimately end up with a drone shot without actually having to follow it yourself, such as in fact, essentially.
Yes, I see a lot of opportunities there, and of course there are also many ethical issues. And there was a lot of fuss about Brabant. I happened to dedicate a LinkedIn post to it. A lot of negative reactions from various different people, especially on Instagram and other such platforms. But yeah, so what do you think about it? Are you feeling positive or negative about it?
I must say I'm a bit on the fence. On one hand, I can truly see the immense and unprecedented possibilities and potential that it brings to the table. And especially now, especially during these challenging times, in times of significant staff shortages, it can be very useful. For example, if you use chatbots or even avatar shipbots, such as various different types of technologies, to serve customers, which allows them to be helped significantly faster and more efficiently than if they had to wait endlessly for a real person. But with news broadcasts, on the other hand, if you watch the NOS news, you might notice that those presenters are also not allowed to show much emotion. This is a deliberate policy to ensure. So in that sense, yes, why not use a digital representation for that in a way that makes sense? Life is truly an avatar of, for example, a well-known and experienced news anchor who delivers the news.
What I find fun is that usually with the weatherman or weatherwoman, who often have a quick joke made in between, which makes it feel more real and genuine. And then I wonder, Can AI do that soon? It's getting better and better, more and more, increasingly so, particularly if you saw the demo of GPT 4.0.
If you saw that demo of GPT 4.0, where they are really communicating with JetGPT with that new version, not only communicating, but also definitely making jokes and even flirting a bit, it goes quite far. And indeed, the question is, should we want this? Look, authenticity is ultimately the most enjoyable. The fact that I'm here with you in this studio. Yes, although I'm currently in a different room right now, we just met each other. I absolutely take pleasure in cycling here through Amsterdam, and there's really nothing better. However, in certain situations, it can be extremely beneficial and advantageous to make use of something that is artificially created or designed for a specific purpose.
Yes, you have another example of yourself, but I am curious, what would you, and now I am referring to your experience, what would you advise young filmmakers or people who are somewhat involved in film? What should they focus on, in your opinion, so they don't get overtaken by AI? What would your advice be on that in order to ensure they are not left behind?
Yes, very good question. Yes, first of all, you should ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want to achieve? What is my goal? You know, I know a young nature filmmaker, Jordan van der Maas from Friesland, for example. He makes absolutely amazing nature documentary films, and he just truly loves, he just really gets a real kick out of spending a few weeks in nature with his photographic equipment, hiding in the bushes and quietly waiting for that one bird or that one berry to come along and capturing it beautifully. Yeah, he wants to take his time for that. And he finds nothing more enjoyable than heading into nature with his photographic equipment. Yeah, if that's your goal and it makes you happy, go for it. And then you use AI in your editing to tweak things a bit more consistently, or maybe to add some sound effects, and that's perfectly fine. But yeah, on the other hand, if you just want to have fun, engage a lot on social media, and use your creativity, then AI can add a lot.
Yes, absolutely. And so you also used yourself as a test subject for that translation as well, because you just showed an avatar, which might be a real person, but an AI person, a digital representation. But you can also do this with yourself using your own likeness in a similar manner. And before you explain how this process works in more detail, let me show it to you in this particular instance.
Suddenly I can speak languages other than Dutch effortlessly, with no issues at all. English is still going well for me, but for instance, learning French, Spanish, or Italian is a whole different story altogether. Cependant, vous entendez et voyez maintenant que cela ne doit plus être un problème du tout. Et de cette façon, vous pouvez bien sûr accueillir rapidement et facilement des invités en su propio idioma a través de un sitio web, redes sociales o aplicación. Y esto es solo el comienzo.
You know what I find so amazing, because I tested this too, is that you can still hear your own voice, your own tone. In the past, it was like, how do we make this? Can we do this?
I didn't put on this outfit for nothing. You can see that it's not an animation. When I first saw and tried this Heygen.com, that tool, I was really, really, really blown away. It was absolutely, incredibly, extremely amazing. What you do is make basic recordings simply with your phone or video camera, where you talk directly into the lens, speak calmly, articulate clearly, make light hand movements, and avoid abrupt motions. Next, you take that recording, upload it to Heygen.com, and then you ask to translate this video into English, Spanish, German, Chinese, you name it. Especially since they offer 29 languages, world languages nowadays. And then it gets to work, and after a while, which can take 10, 15 minutes or longer, depending on how long your video is, it comes out with a perfectly synchronized translated video with perfect lip syncing as well. And what I've done here is, of course, create multiple translated videos. I then edited them together with DaVinci Resolve, blending them seamlessly. So quite a bit of work was involved. Normally, I don't speak at all. English is manageable. But indeed, as I said, Spanish, German, English, yeah, that's really hit or miss, or not at all. So yes, it's amazing that you can now, speak those kinds of languages flawlessly. And that naturally offers incredible possibilities. And not just for companies with explainer videos, But also, if you can make it interactive with talking avatars and real-time translations, then you have international customer service, which you can greatly benefit from.
Yeah, wow, it's amazing.
Yes, it's absolutely fascinating. And just for example, recently last week, we had an AI event in Harderwijk. I actually started that with a kind of interaction with an avatar that I had made myself. That was off the record because officially that's not allowed. But since it was a private event, I took a really good photo of Eva Linnick. I have that in HTML. You can basically upload the HTML file and let it run out. Then you can essentially link it using the API of 11 Labs. Basically, it will work as expected. 11 Labs is the tool that allows you to clone voices. So I had cloned a voice there as well. You can bring her to life and then interact and communicate with her on stage. That was quite a bit of work. I really spent half a day getting it right with the timing and everything, but it looked amazing, and it's the future. Because if you go to chat.deid.com, that's also one of those tools. You can also communicate with avatars there, with hooking avatars.
So this was also Heygen, and Rika indeed just asked about it in the chat. So Heygen, Hejigen, that's the tool. I saw a very interesting question from Milan, which I had seen come in earlier, so I quickly read it. It's almost a philosophical question, but it boils down to this. Milan says, well, in these times, perhaps maybe challenging times, do people indeed prefer human interaction over AI, or will they soon, in fact, actually prefer AI over human interaction? And he says, I am extremely quite curious about your vision on that, about your vision on the significantly deep interaction and experience with AI.
Yes, I find it an incredibly difficult question because on one hand, as a human being, you say we shouldn't want that at all, as the most beautiful thing is human interaction. On the other hand, I also enjoy listening to that extremely fascinating and highly engaging poking podcast by the renowned and insightful Alexander Klupping, who is known for his deep insights and thought-provoking discussions. Just when I was driving here, I listened to a bit of it. It was also about AI therapy. And it is, of course, a fact that there are many people, especially the elderly, who are lonely and just not getting enough attention. And if you can do that with the help of AI, look, it really shouldn't be necessary. Ideally, you want to treat and approach everyone as a human being and engage in interaction. But in practice, it often turns out that it's just not possible. And if you can find an alternative for that in the form of AI and people actually become less lonely and can share their stories, engage in interaction, then of course it's a slippery slope, because where does it end? And that is actually the dilemma that everyone faces who is involved with this subject. Where is the line? I do think that, and that's why, for example, such an AI law that has now been signed by the European Commission makes it clear that you are communicating with a device or a robot or an AI instead of a real person. I think it's absolutely good that there is definitely some sort of watermark.
Yes, you can Photoshop it off again, but then we indeed remain in a loop and we won't be able to answer it together in that sense. I also believe in the power of both humans and AI, by the way. Yes, I think there's a nice convergence there. I'm going to try to ask one more question, but I think it's already kind of been answered. Which AI technology do you use, Chris? And I think that was about Heygen, but do you have a final remark, perhaps? Or are there still some within your editing software that you use?
Yes, there are actually multiple editing programs that test. My main program that I work with is DaVinci Resolve by Blackmagic. I just find it a really nice program because you can work with it so smoothly. A few color corrections. There are now all sorts of titles in it. By the way, also in Adobe Premiere and in CapCut. What I find great about it is that something that used to take me a lot of time was making good subtitles. That used to take an incredible amount of time. Nowadays, you can generate them super quickly, and you just need to check it quickly. Make sure there are no spelling mistakes. The timing is good enough, and you do that in no time.
Which zone do you use for this? Yes, I do this with DaVinci Resolve. Okay, really, they also have subtitles in there.
Yes, And you can also, for example, take the entire video, if there is speech in it, and then edit it based on that text, such as in order to make it more accurate. And then you can, if you want to, and make necessary edits. So, for example, you can take a sentence out of the transcribed text, and it will also extract the scene where that sentence is spoken. This way, you can edit based on text instead of the other way around. And you can enhance the voices. You can isolate voices if there's too much background noise. By the way, there was also some good news that a new headphone has been developed. Imagine you're in a noisy environment or at a concert, and you focus on a particular person and want to have a conversation with them. It filters out the music, and you can hear their voice clearly. It's really bizarre. Yeah, I think it's still a prototype. I think we are living in really exciting times right now, but we do need to stay alert and be careful because things are moving so fast. And of course, there are always dangers and downsides that come with that. So yeah, my advice is just to stay alert. And if something seems too good to be true, it often is.
Yes, I understand. Well, that's a nice conclusion. Thank you, Chris. If you're not following Chris on LinkedIn yet, make sure to do so. If you're looking for a video maker, I would definitely recommend Chris from now on. I am, of course, Olaf Lemmens, but also Nina AI Agency. We help companies with Nina AI Agency to create small AI applications, consulting, knowledge, various things, just the whole range of AI. If you have a real video project, I'll probably bring Chris in for those things. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for this broadcast. Keep an eye on my LinkedIn for the next LinkedIn Live. Maybe you'll definitely be my guest here in the studio again, maybe with more video help from Chris as well. That would be great. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You can always watch this again if you feel. And thanks to Chris for all the examples you brought.
You're very welcome, Olaf. And thank you so much for the invitation once again. I really, really appreciate that you go out on a limb to make these kinds of broadcasts, because a lot of work and preparation goes into it and it will come back indirectly at some point. But I really appreciate it during the journey. I will continue to follow this closely here and the other LinkedIn minister with great interest.